Oh, Disney, what are you doing? When you're not running one of the most popular and beloved IPs in cinematic history into the ground through a combination of incompetent producers, clueless directors, and lashings of toxic social justice ideology, you're resurrecting classic animated movies from your golden age and rehashing them as joyless, brainless, pointless live-action CGI crossovers with all of the charm, wit, energy, wonder, and excitement of a 3-day corporate diversity seminar. Which brings me neatly along to Mulan, an unwelcome remake of the late 90s animated movie about a young girl in Imperial China who disguises herself as a man so she can take her father's place in the army and fight to protect her country. A movie that's probably best remembered for the fucking awesome Szechuan sauce that McDonald's released to promote it.
Wow, this sauce is f***ing amazing. You said it was promoting a movie?
It'll never be topped. But since we now live in a post-creativity era, I guess it was time to scrape the bottom of the barrel once more and commission a remake. And everything seemed great to begin with. I mean, Mulan is a movie about female empowerment, featuring a strong, diverse female protagonist, directed by a woman, written by a bunch of other women, and with not a single white male on screen to spoil the fun. There are so many virtues to be signalled here, I just don't know where to start. But then it all began to go wrong just as the movie was gearing up for release. The outbreak of the unspecified virus of unknown origin, combined with some embarrassing revelations about the star's political views on Hong Kong, and the more, questionable things going on in the province where this movie was shot, soured the public appetite for all things Chinese and led to the movie's release being repeatedly delayed. Realising that the situation was spiralling out of control and desperate to recoup some of their $200 million budget, Disney pulled the plug on a cinematic release altogether and replaced it with a simple question. Hey, you know that Disney Plus subscription you're already paying a shit ton of money for? Well, how about dumping an extra $30 in our pockets so that you can watch our shitty movie? Tough one indeed. Well, it's my job to endure this so that you don't have to. And believe me, I don't think you should. Allow me to illuminate you. The action kicks off in a small village in Imperial China. Mulan is a smart, brave, adventurous tomboy kind of character who dreams about a life of adventure and excitement. Lovely stuff. Unfortunately for her, this is a culture where women are expected to do 3 things in life: get married, have babies, and shut the fuck up. And pretty soon she's facing the prospects of an unwelcome arranged marriage. Meanwhile, China is invaded by the Mongols. I'm not making that joke. Anyway, they're led by a vicious warlord determined to conquer the whole country, and he's assisted by a witch that can shapeshift like she's a fucking T-1000 or something. Why? Don't know. The Emperor needs an army to counter this threat, so he orders mass conscription across the country. Every family is expected to contribute at least 1 man of fighting age. Unfortunately, Mulan's father didn't have any sons, and he's a useless old cripple now, so he isn't gonna last 5 minutes in a war. Realizing that she has to do something, Mulan disguises herself as a man, steals her father's sword and armor, which somehow fits perfectly despite the fact that she's a completely different height and build.
This is literal perfection.
It will be when it gets time.
And rides off to war. Just like before, a lot of this movie centres around her struggle to succeed and gain recognition and respect in a male-dominated world. But this is where the differences between the two movies start to emerge and Mulan begins to unravel. See, the original actually took a pretty balanced and realistic view of the subject of women serving in the military. Animated Mulan wasn't particularly big or strong or good at fighting because that wouldn't be realistic given her background. She was actually kind of clumsy and unsure of herself, and she had to work extra hard just to keep up with her male counterparts. She even got her ass kicked a few times by her commanding officer because he correctly recognised that sending substandard soldiers into battle is a quick way to get a whole lot of people killed. But she persevered and worked hard and refused to give up, gradually getting stronger and more confident and winning over the respect of her fellow soldiers. She wasn't really special in any way, she was just strong-willed and brave and refused to back down when things got tough. It made her kind of endearing and relatable because she wasn't the best and brightest. And you know what? That's a pretty good lesson for kids to learn these days. Because let's be honest, life isn't always easy or fair. And just because other people start out better than you, doesn't mean it has to end that way. Animated Mulan was a character that demonstrated the value of hard work, determination and resilience, qualities that'll serve you well in life. But new Mulan is another sad graduate of the modern Disney school of strong girls that are awesome because they're girls. She was apparently born with high levels of chi, which I guess is the Chinese equivalent of midichlorians. The more chi you have, the more funky Matrix stuff you can do in battle. Why? Don't know. The result is that new Mulan is basically awesome at everything right off the bat, and quickly becomes the bestest soldier ever. Rather than struggling just to keep up with her male counterparts, she's forced to carefully hold back her true power because I guess it would be too overwhelming for them to handle. And I couldn't shake the feeling that this is just a reskinned Captain Marvel, a strong, powerful character who can only realise her full potential once she throws off the shackles of a jealous, restrictive patriarchy in a glorious moment of unveiling. Like at one point during a battle where she just says, "Fuck it," and takes off her armour so that she can fight unencumbered and promptly goes into full Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon mode. What the fuck? Remember the animated movie how Mulan successfully kept her secret until she got wounded in battle, and that's when they discovered her
big ass titties?
That version of Mulan was smart enough to realise that if her fellow soldiers discovered what she really was, she'd be shunned and discharged from the army. She recognised this and accepted it as an unfortunate fact of life. She wasn't narcissistic enough to try to change the whole world just to accommodate her own personal ambitions. But new Mulan has to turn the whole thing into an act of rebellion, like she's making some brave political statement by revealing her true nature. And really, all this does is diminish her character, portraying her as dumb and short-sighted, someone who prioritises a fleeting emotional release over long-term gains. Why are you doing this to your characters, you absolute mature cheddar and caramelized red onion chutney sandwiches? This is not how you write a relatable protagonist. I mean, imagine if a young girl that got raised on a steady diet of Rey Skywalkers, Captain Marvels and Mulans decided to apply the lessons of these characters to her own life, showing up for job interviews with no relevant qualifications, or taking on major physical challenges with no training or preparation. But it's okay, because she thinks she can just succeed anyway, because she was born to be awesome. Trust me, that is not how life works. There's also the evil T-1000 witch, who isn't actually evil, but chose to follow the Mongol warlord because it was her only means of attaining power as a woman. What? You're a fucking witch that can transform into anything or anyone that you choose. Do you really think you need a sponsor for this kind of shit? Ah, whatever. The only reason she's even in the movie is so that she can switch sides and help Mulan out, because I guess the writers wanted to show two strong female characters supporting each other's success in a male-dominated world.
I think we have a critic.
So, out of the two antagonists in this movie, you've got one that isn't really an antagonist at all, but gets the bulk of the screen time because you go girl, and a second one that's just kind of plopped in as a generic disposable villain to get an arrow kicked into his chest at the climax. What the fuck? This is exactly what happens when you prioritise the message over the story, trying to bend and warp one to fit the needs of the other. Ultimately, all you'll end up with is a distorted mess that makes no sense. And I guess that's my real takeaway from Mulan. I just do not understand the point of this movie at all. It's a confused, boring, unimaginative and unwelcome attempt to rework a Disney animated classic, injecting heavy-handed political messaging that's far less smart and effective than it was 22 years ago, and removing most of the funny, upbeat, entertaining characters and moments that made the original so watchable. So if you happen to be the parent of a young girl who wants to give her a strong female role model to look up to, then save yourself $30 and just have her watch the original Mulan, or better yet, Ripley from Aliens. Either way, do yourself a favour and stay the fuck away from this garbage. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.